We have a really special virtual education session happening today. We have a full hour and a half with Frank Cini and Rodica Hristu. They're going to take us through a collection that they created themselves, inspired by two Goldwell collections, Go Beyond and Intrepid. Good afternoon, Frank and Rodica. It's all yours.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Goldwell webinar, inspired by. Like Linda said, this inspiration comes from the Goldwell Hair Color Style book and the Intrepid and the Go Beyond collection. The first thing that I've seen when I'm flipping through the pages of this book is beautiful color palettes that are perfectly in line with the Pantone 2020 forecast. For me, it's an honor to work with color guru, Goldwell ambassador, educator. Rodica, what do you think? Would you like to elaborate?
Yes, I will. First of all, welcome everybody. Bienvenue for those of you who are out of the province. Very happy to be here, very excited. This is not my first time working with the master, Frank Cini, and I'm so excited. So we're going to talk, as Frank started, we're going to talk about Intrepid, color style, collection and inspiration from what we've done in the past year and last year in Vienna that you've already seen. So we're going to start with a little bit of chit chat. We have a full room here, a lot of support. We're new at this, so just stick with us. Ask questions, please be interactive. We love that. And so we're going to start with pretty much the inspiration, right, Frank?
Yes, correct.
We did color and we did cut and style, and you will see more. Our team of models right here, okay, please make them feel welcome. They're very shy right now. We did a little bit we had the inspiration from Intrepid, but also we wanted to put our own little signature on this collection. And in terms of color, we're going to be talking about what's in now and what's going to be in next year, and then 2 years from now on, so on and so forth. But before we start that, we do have actually some some PowerPoint just with the images, and Frank is going to talk about the shapes and styles, and I'm going to be talking about the colors. So we'll take turns here, and we're just going to go to that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is from obviously Intrepid inspiration and Go Beyond, either the couture collection or the commercial collection, whichever one you want to be or you're inspired by. We're just going to kind of touch up on that throughout the hour and a half. So we have some images that are inspirational to us. These are part of the Intrepid, Go Beyond, just a collage of pictures that were, like I said, we were inspired by. And of course, Frank, the styles and all the cuts and the lines, we're going to be talking about that. But just to start with, just a little bit, not too much. We're just going to be a lot of talking, and we're going to do some hair. But just to start with color, so sorry it took so long. It's okay. No problem. We're trying to keep social distancing, as you see. Just to start with the colors, we all know blue is the color of the year. It still is. Did some research. Of course, Pantone is a place to go. You want your inspiration. You want to know what's going on in the next few years. That's where you're going to find all your answers. So blue is still very strong. It will be in the next year, as Pantone you will see. But we think that, I personally, based on the research that I did, in the next 2 years, yellow is going to grow into a copper, reds, and then into green. So we're talking about a transition of all primary and secondary colors as being the colors of the year from 2021 to 2026. So you'll see that transition, and I hope I'm right. So blue is still strong, yellow is next, combined with copper, earthy tones, monochromatic, simplicity is the key, a bit more saturated color, some vibrant reflects, and always the neutrals. Neutrals are always in. That's not going to go away anyway. So going into yellow and green. So I'll give it to Frank.
With that, like, yeah, what I see, again, I know they say that the digital teal and the blues are very popular, and I think one of the reasons for that is because Pantone's saying that we need to have calming in these times with COVID, and there's lots of unrest and nervousness. So I don't think they could have predicted that, but I think it's very on point with the mood and the feeling of what's happening in hair. So
yeah, calming, and also low maintenance, closer to natural, just in case. And you know what that just in case means? Just in case we're closing again, or God knows, hopefully not. Hopefully not. But yeah, calming and more natural, something that makes you feel comfortable and calm, I guess.
Well, I guess it's reverted from, we had very bold and strong colors, and like you said, those have kind of oxygenated and you know, softened. Although we will still see bright colors, because anytime in fashion, there's always contradicting trends. Like there's in cutting, there's always short, there's always long. You're going to see a bit, but for the masses, this is the overall color palettes that we're seeing. And then I can kind of share. I can get into my haircut shortly and start sharing some of the things that I feel excited about.
If you want to pick your mannequin up, that's fine. And then we're just going to talk about the colors as you after you talking about the shapes. Okay. Well, our instructor color wanted to touch up on a little bit of everything, especially the new shades, because clearly they are trendy. This is what the trends are. We have new shades. We're going to touch on that. So Frank is going to talk a little bit about his model. And this is a little bit of my take on dimensional, soft dimension with a little bit of root shadow that's kind of disconnected. So yes, that's oxygenation as well. It feels just a little bit more extreme. I have this beautiful long hair, and I literally freeform painted and combined Illumin Play and Illumin pastel shades throughout the entire hair with the root shadow of Illumin Pastel Blue. And so this is just soft, natural, but still with a pop. You always want to make that color a little bit alive. You don't want to have like boring colors. We're too sad right now. We just need a pop. So all you see here, it's all about the pop of color. Even if it's a dense or oxygenated, there's always going to be a pop of color. So.
You said that is root shadow is one of your, would you say that's one of your signature?
Yes, actually. Root shadow,
or?
yes. I've been doing root shadow for 25 years, I think. And it's just part of how I see, and for those of you who know me, you know that I color darken the roots, lighter on the ends. So oxygenated, obviously all this inspiration is a collage of everything that we've done in the previous year, and we just added the pop to it. We added that either a natural feel to it or a bright, happier feel to it, but it is definitely darker at the roots, lighter at the ends. That's what defines oxygenation.
Yeah, it's funny, when we were talking about what excites you for color, you said to me that I'm known for my root shadow applications, and I actually think you're known for developing some of the great educators that we have within Goldwell.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much.
There's a reputation, you've got a great reputation for being able to teach and articulate those trends.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My signature look, if I would have to say it, is color blend. Darker roots and then working with colors in the mid-shaft and ends, taking it lighter. So sort of like the ombre, balayage, look-alike. I've been doing that for many, 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 many years. I think the first time I did that was at the ABA on stage in 1995 or 4. I did a color melt freeform with a root shadow on stage at the convention center.
Well, it's funny, you know, you talk about trends that are you know, transpired for decades, and I think that's really important because every season, you know, cuts and styles change. We know that. And every season there might be the it look of, you know, some cuts and colors that are emerging. And for a lack of a better word, trendy. And just because it's trendy doesn't mean that you've never seen it before. Often it's an evolution of what we've done and now we're going into some new places. So my haircut today, this is actually a big 60s, 70s influence. So it's going to have a strong fringe, and it's going to have like a bohemian soft texture to it. Again, those are not new terms, but this is, if you look at what's happening out there in fashion, it's all over, you know, Vogue, Glamour, Harper's Bazaar, they're all writing about these things. So I'm going to give you my version of how to get excited about a long haircut and how I approach it in the salon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, her hair has been blow dried completely forward, right from the occipital, so right from the apex of the head, the highest point. So what's new about this fringe is it's extremely heavy. So you need a client with thick hair. Generally, we stay far in front of that location. For this haircut, I'm going to go right to the back. So it's a really strong curtain fringe. So the way I'm going to approach this, I'm going to start with a small triangle dead center of her head. So that's going to be approximately 1 inch wide. And I'm going to take 3 triangles that I'm going to cut at 90-degree elevation from her head. And it's going to get gradually longer as I work out. So I'm going to start. Can you see me there, Stuart? So the first section, I want this to fall right around the bridge of the nose. So I'm going to take this following the head shape and just take that section and cut that square. The next section, I'm going to come out another 3/4 of an inch on the other side. This whole haircut, I actually like the approach. It's all done with triangles. And triangles, actually, once I get to the sides, I'll elaborate a little bit more. But what's happening with those triangles is because I'm cutting in the center of the triangle and I'm pinching that hair forward, we're getting a cool radiation of length. And again, this is going to create an extra length on the fringe, but it's also going to create a radiation of length throughout the haircut. So from here, I want to go 1 inch longer than the previous section. Am I in the center here? Just cut that like so. So that's starting to fan out. And then the third and final section for the fringe. So that is from corner of the eyebrow to corner of the eyebrow. Again, because I'm doing a dry cut, you can see exactly how the hair's falling. So if I need to do some refinement after, I can do that as well. So now I gotta pick up this entire section. So one of the benefits of dry haircut is you're gonna see the hair immediately. One of the challenges is you don't have the weight that you work with when you have wet hair to give you that nice tight kind of tension and distribution. It's a little more challenging to hold, but you get to see the result and the effect immediately. Okay, so last and final section. So there's my guide right there. I'm gonna come just above that. Again, 90 from the head, and I'm going to drop that down. Okay. So now that curtain fringe is taking shape. I'm going to do one final section now, but this is part of the overall length. So this is the first disconnected layer. So now that last section was just from the corner of the eyebrow. This is actually just to the corner of the eye. So again, a fairly large section. And so this section is going to be disconnected from the entire rest of the front of the haircut. So there's no guide here. The guide is, again, I want this to sit slightly around below the jaw. So now the challenge is you have to comb everything right into the center. Pardon me. The bangs can drop out. They're not part of this section. Got a clean section there. And now you can see this color starting to get exposed that Rodica did. The nice thing is I'm cutting some of this blonding, and now the yellowing and the mauves are coming out. So actually there's a little bit of the corner of the fridge. So now, is that clean there? Yeah. So I'm gonna bring this out, 90 from the head. I wanna make sure I'm standing in the center, and I'm gonna layer that. So this is gonna give me a nice chunky disconnected section right from the front. Okay, so now this is really heavy and strong. And that front section is falling nicely. And then again, now with the fringe, if I want to do some detailing there to soften, I can go in and do some deep point cutting. I can come in and just, if there's a little bit of choppiness there, I can just go in and just soften those edges ever so slightly. How are you doing, Rodica?
Good, I'm watching you. I'm learning how to cut hair.
Again, this is a very mysterious fringe. It's meant to be kind of long and not practical, but looking cool. Shall I carry on, or do you want to?
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just clip that section. So I'm going to take that triangle that I've cut, and I'm going to just pin it away. And I'm going to start working on my sides. So this is where the roadmap to this haircut really starts. So let me take a moment and just explain now, again, why I'm working with triangles and the benefits. So okay, so that's that big heavy fringe with the disconnection of the layer. So let me just pin that out of the way. So one of the reasons we're working with triangles, again, if you can imagine the base of the triangle being the widest point, and then the tip, all that hair that's over directed, the base gets the most over direction. And so when that hair falls, you get a lot of radiation of length and a lot of disconnection. So I'm going to be doing a couple of triangles in the back, but first I'm going to attack the sides. So again, here's that first triangle, just drawing a line down here. And this is basically from the apex of the head straight back. So I'm going to treat this side entirely in one section. Actually, let me just grab a larger comb here. So what I want to do here is actually, I want to wrap this. So I want to make sure that I'm creating a nice, smooth combing surface. And you know what? If you can't get it through with your comb, I'm actually going to use a Ferris brush. So again, the key to this, because the hair is dry, is you want to have a nice, clean cutting surface. So I'm going to wrap that right around her forehead, and I'm going to actually use the corner of her eyebrow as a guide. So I'm going to create a layer here by just walking my scissor from that point down and preserve the length. I'm not going to cut the length. But what that's going to do is it's going to give her like a fairly seamless layer. So that's for those clients that they don't want to look like they've got a ton of layers, but you know, you need something. If it's all one length around the face, unless she's very round, it's gonna make somebody look very drawn out. So now I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. Walk around, wrap that hair. And now again, I'm visualizing there's the corner of the eyebrow. I'm going to start walking with my scissors all the way down to the length. And then lastly, I'm going to do the elevation portion of it, and I'm going to pass you back to Rodica. So now that's the kind of the perimeter done, and now I'm going to attack more of the interior. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to comb this straight up. I'm working at the middle of the triangle, but I'm going to use over direction to preserve the length. So I'm going to bring this right across. There's my length, and I'm just going to cut that like so. So again, at least I'm creating some shortness to the layer. To give her some interior movement. And now that I'm going to work on her right side, I'm going to spin her around, because when I'm cutting short to long layers, I always want to be cutting short to long. So this time I have to stand in front of my model. So again, combing with even distribution. Pardon me, let me just isolate that. Combing with even distribution, straight up. And then using that over direction to cut some shortness in the layer, but preserve that length. And again, now you're going to see these oxygenated colors really pop.
Frank, is there a particular texture or length that you would do this cut on?
Again, this is generally for thicker texture hair, because of the fringe, the heaviness of the fringe, and also the amount of layering that I'm putting in. So again, you could work it on finer hair. You just have to use, less. You wouldn't have to go as deep with the fringe, and maybe you wouldn't even carve out the front. Okay. Shall I pass you back to Rodica for a moment?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Thank you, Frank. So everybody, again, I'm here. I was learning how to cut hair. Frank is a very, very good teacher. Let me show you what I got here. So first of all, very excited. First, the base color. The base color is our new shade 99 at PK, and it's absolutely amazing. So if you want to see how that root shadow work, clearly it is on Blonde Mannequin, and I used 99 at PK with 10 volume for more depth in the roots, and 20 volume on the mid-shaft and ends. And I alternated some of the ends, and I will show you how in my next demonstration. But I'm going to start now, show you and explain to you what exactly oxygenation is. In order for you to understand what you're doing, you have to understand what it is that you're looking for to achieve. So oxygenation means that you're going to start dark, you're going to dilute the ends, and you're going to do that in a seamless way. It doesn't have to be the same shade. You can go blue and green, red and blonde. You can do anything as long as it's seamlessly done. So at this point, I'm going to demonstrate just how that's done freeform. And there's some tools that you might want to keep in mind that will make your life much, much easier when you're oxygenating, or when you're trying to achieve a seamless diffusion between a dark shade and a light shade, or different color families altogether. So the retouch, the regrowth, it's your game. Do whatever you need to do on the retouch, on the regrowth part. And when you're about to start layering colors, because this is a free form technique, there's no foils or paper needed, only for protection. Maybe underneath, just lay a paper, just so she doesn't have a stain on her face. So just the first section will be laid on a paper, foil, whatever you're comfortable with, and everything else just goes on top and just lays nicely and naturally right on top. And how it's done? It's done by utilizing the thickener. Please do not forget, this will make your balayages, your hair painting, your oxygenation process so much easier. The colors will not blend, will not mix, will not bleed into each other. You can actually keep and work the hair and work the colors in with, even when they touch each other without color transfer. So this is something that you need to keep in mind. And starting before you apply your formulas, always make sure you treat your hair with the structure equalizer spray. And I'm not selling it to you. I'm reminding you, this is a tool that should be on your station no matter what, every time. You know, that's what you should do. All right, so now, I don't want to preach, I'm just telling you. So I'm working right now with Colorance Clear with 3 drops of at Pure Pigment Red. So I'm just creating depth. As you see, I'm going quite far on the mid shaft. This is because I'm going to overlap with another color, and then I'm going to oxygenate the ends. So you can go pretty low with your first formula, because when you're going to overlap with a lighter formula, you will definitely dilute your root formula, and slowly, slowly is going to transfer into a lighter variation of that. So you have one formula here, the second formula here, but in the midpoint right there, it's a different shade. So instead of using 3 shades, you can create 3 or 4 shades based on your application technique and saturation. So this is Colorance with at Pure Pigment Clear with at Pure Pigment Red. This is Rose Illumine Play, and I'm going to oxygenate by non-saturation. I'm going to drag this color and I'm going to drag it dry right towards the ends, and where less saturation there is, it will be less deposit. So if you have a great canvas, just by working the color, make sure that it's smooth and apply it smooth, you will get oxygenated ends just by non-saturating the ends. So that's one way you can do it, or you can saturate the ends with clear, and so you have that transition from dark to light. These are things that you've done before, I'm sure, but just to remind you. One more thing, you can add a little sparkle to your oxygenation. I went there and I just weaved some baby lights, and I'm gonna take my Illumine silver, metallic silver, and I'm just going to paint those baby lights and place them right on top, and I can move on with my next section. So that's just a creative idea, something that I added. It's my own twist to Intrepid, to oxygenation, to color diffusion, to color saturation and non-saturation, and the connection between the 2 or 3 shades. So very simple, keep going until you run out of hair. Very simple, efficient. Frank.
And that's what you did is that one of the techniques that you did in the back here as well?
Yes, yes.
So
This mannequin was, I utilized Illumine Pastel Blue, and then just dragged it a little bit, 3/4, and then I went back with mint Illumine Pastel, that it was very unsaturated, and while that was on, I just went in and I weaved different, just baby lights, and I used Illumine Play or Illumine Shades, anything just to add that pop of color. So that's how I achieved that. So it's very oxygenated, but also has a pop at the same time. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a beautiful combination. I guess before I get into the next section, I should start by saying that I prepped the hair with ultra volume top whip. So this mousse was blow dried into the hair. And now I'm going to use some Just Smooth Diamond Gloss because I'm doing a dry haircut, and the hair, if the hair becomes flyaway, I'm just going to use this almost like a cutting lotion to counteract that flyaway. And again, it's weightless, so it's great on blondes. I've completed the sides, so now I'm going to work on the back. So starting from, again, the apex, I'm going to draw a line straight down to behind the ear, and I'm going to pin that side away because that's done. That's the left side. I'm going to do the same thing on her right side. I'm going to draw a line straight down, pin that side away. And now I'm going to create we're talking about triangle cutting and using that over direction and radiation of length. So I'm going to draw a triangle. Well, it's actually a diamond. The first is there's going to be a triangle on the top right here. And I'm just going to braid this quickly and get it out of the way. So there's one triangle. And now I'm going to pin that up. And then I'm going to draw another triangle below that. And now I'm going to pin that up. And now I'm going to draw off the sides again. And I'm just going to draw a line so I get a little bit more of that density behind the ear. So I'm just going to draw a line down to behind the ear. Okay. These layers are all disconnected. I'm going to start by this center point. I draw a line straight down. And then I'm going to elevate this section right to that point there. I'm going to bring that right up. I'm going to use a concave finger position to protect some of that length, but you can see I'm going to remove quite a bit of that bulk. And I'm going to layer that first section. And then I'm going to do the same on her right corner back. If I want to protect those corners, I can elevate and over direct more towards the middle. Okay. So now, again, it's amazing that you're using such a large section when we're working with these triangles, but yet the result is actually quite soft and seamless. So again, I want to make sure that I'm in the center of this triangle, and I'm going to determine the length depending on how much density she has, how aggressive I want to get with the layer. If I want to really shorten it, I can use concaves. If I want to protect some, I can go square. Again, this mannequin's got quite a bit of density, so I want to concave that layer. And now what happens is you'll get that radiation through the corners, shorter through the middle. And last and final section. Making sure that I'm working from the apex on that point of the head. And again, if I want to soften that layer too, I can pinch into it, I can point cut. You just want to make sure those ends aren't too wavy when you're point cutting, or it can become quite choppy. And now you can kind of see that some of those colors that Rodica put through becoming more exposed.
This like wash and wear type of style? Does it take a lot of styling to make it?
Very much. Like one of the things that speaks to me in the Goldwell collection is the soft textures. So they talk about weekend vibe hair, almost like, cotton sweaters. It's a very imperfect texture, and that's the feeling that I want to achieve with this haircut. Again, it's been curled, but now brush it out and make sure that it's not too perfect. And I think that's really important in what's happening in hair and fashion today, because it's really hard to talk to men and women about really dressing up and going out when some of the other parts of the world are getting locked down again. So, you know, it's really about having that, we call it done undone texture.
Yeah.
So again, the cut speaks to me that's got like fringe 70s feel. The texture speaks to me when it's kind of like this soft done undone texture. I hope you like it. So it's got some disconnected layers, some long fringe, and just very loose and airy.